Scare. Would we all please stand for the invocation provided by Commissioner Barr, and then we'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Helen prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to be present today. Lead, guide, and direct us. Use us for the service of others in our community. Lord, we lift up our two fellow commissioners this morning. Kiefer's medical procedure. Give the doctors guidance and direction as they do the test here today. And Lord, be with, just ask that you be with Commissioner Klein, who's under the weather and not feeling well. And Lord, just we thank you for this holiday and Christmas season, and we would just serve in a capacity that would be honorable to each other and to the citizens of Washington County. We ask these things in our Son's precious name.
Amen. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, I'd like to ask for the approval of the December, well, first let's back up here. I'd like to call the Washington County Board of County Commissioners December 19th, 2017 meeting to order. With that, I'd like to ask for the approval of the December 12th, 2017 minutes.
Second.
Motion and second for the approval of those minutes. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 3-0. Okay, Commissioners' reports and comments. We'll start with Commissioner Myers.
Well, first of all, I want to take this time to wish the citizens a very Merry Christmas as we head towards the holiday season, and make it safe. And if you're traveling, you know, we hope that things go well with your family and so forth in these next couple of weeks. And also, I want to congratulate Paul Quarterman once again, as tomorrow he'll be sworn in as our new delegate from the city of Hagerstown. Very active Central Committee these last couple of years, but I think they made a very good choice of the candidates, and that moving forward, I hope he has a successful session in Annapolis this year.
Okay, thank you.
And I also want to welcome back our county attorney, John. Nice. Just walked in the room, looks a little thinner. You know.
Yeah, huh? It's been a little rough time, but
might want to share. I don't think you want to share with us your diet plan.
It was. Yeah, I wouldn't advise like going to the hospital for 2 or 3 weeks. That's just not. That's not the kind of diet you want.
I know you were back, but welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, I thank everybody at the county, my staff especially, for picking up when I wasn't here, and Rob, very supportive when I wasn't here. Thank you to everybody, and it's nice to be back. So
that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Barr.
Good morning. I would say Merry Christmas, but I understand my jacket probably says it all. So, you know, festive for the holidays. It's good to be here. The only thing I have, I guess, to report is did attend the annual Christmas concert at the Maryland Symphony Orchestra at the beautiful Maryland Symphony, or beautiful Maryland Theater. Once again, the local Washington County Choral Arts in conjunction with the symphony, and then to be added to by the choral group from Barbara Ingram, who did, as usual, just an over-the-top, unbelievable performance. It was quite an evening, quite an event, and I'd like to encourage everyone to pack the house at the Maryland Symphony concerts. So both public and private need to support and participate and keep the Maryland Symphony here. So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Myself, I'd like to wish everyone in Washington County, including staff, a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I was able to attend the Fire Police Christmas Banquet this past week. They had a great turnout there, and Sheriff Mullendore, I guess, was the MC. And of course, he had his usual page of jokes, and I think everyone in attendance thought they were very, very funny. So just want to thank the fire police for everything they do in Washington County and wish them a Merry Christmas as well. Also had the opportunity to address the HCC commencement exercises, graduates at Hagerstown College this past Saturday. I think they had approximately 125 winter graduates, and Dr. Altieri and Mr. Warner, Dr. Warner, and they were all in attendance and gave outstanding remarks, and congratulations to all of the graduates and everyone at the college for everything they do. So that concludes my comments. Any other comments from the commissioners? Reports from county staff. We have any staff here today to care to prepare or provide a report? Okay, attorneys, administrator.
Thank you, President Baker. Three things. First, hope you join me in welcoming Mr. Hovis, who was so quick. He sped ahead of his name tag, so there's no nameplate in front of him, but that is him. And I think most of you already know him. I wanted to say that Jim brings over 3 decades of experience in state and local government. He brings knowledge, energy, and ambition, and I don't use those words lightly, toward the county and serving the county. So I'm very excited to have him, as I know that speaking with you and many staff members and some citizens as well are very excited to have Jim. So welcome aboard, Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Fogg.
Jim will be here much like John's staff, occasionally in and out during the meetings, but he will certainly have a nameplate very soon. Thank you. Thanks to Vicki, Krista, and Kim, John's Kim, for setting up a Christmas tree out in the hallway, very festive, and inviting all staff members to come down and place a bulb on the tree or some type of ornament. So thank you for that, Vicki. Much appreciated in the festive spirit. And I did want to make an order of business here that the next meeting, January 9. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everyone. And January 9, the next Tuesday that we'll be here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Boards and commissions?
Yes, I do have one today. The Area Agency on Aging Advisory Council would like to appoint 2 members to fulfill terms of members that have left. The first one is Julie Farron. The other is Paul Ward, and they both would serve through January 31st, 2019.
Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 3-0. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, citizens' participation. We have any citizens here today care to participate? Please come forward, give us your name, address, and tell us what you'd like for us to know. Yep.
My name is Dave Klein with Potomac Edison and First Energy, and our office is at 10802 Bauer Avenue, Williamsport, Maryland. And I have some prepared remarks that we would like to have entered into the record. Good morning. I just wanted to speak a minute this morning on behalf of Potomac Edison and First Energy in support of the Maryland Theater's funding request. I'd like to point out that we don't serve the theater and the Arts and Entertainment District downtown, but they are very important to us nonetheless. The theater serves thousands of our county customers as well as the downtown community. It is open to everyone without prejudice and can benefit literally every resident of the county. First Energy has openly voiced support of the theater through FE Foundation contributions in the past and pledges of future contributions. Potomac Edison eagerly looks forward to the renovated theater becoming a company meeting site and as a venue for hosting outside visitors. The new theater will certainly become the primary economic development hub for our area. It is with that thought in mind that we thank the county commissioners for your leadership and ask you to support the funding efforts for the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Anyone else here today care to participate in citizen participation? Okay, we'll move to Mr. Buchanan and Mr. Hovis on the Hagerstown Urban Improvement Project, grant agreement and sub-recipient agreement review and approval.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jim Hovis, Chief Operations Officer, Washington County, Maryland, and Miss Susan Buchanan, Senior Grant Manager for the Office of Community Grant Management, is passing out a document that was received yesterday from the Board of Education. That is their requested markup of the proposed changes to the sub-recipient agreements, which are included within your packets. Commissioner, we're here today to seek approval for the Hagerstown Urban Improvement Project grant agreement and sub-recipient review. We're asking that you review and approve it to be presented to both the Board of County Commissioners for signature and execution, and to all three Urban Improvement Project partners. In 2017, the Hagerstown Urban Improvement Project received $1.5 million in the form of a Maryland Capital Bond Bill Award. The bond bill language designated Washington County as the grantee, and the Maryland Theater, Washington County Board of Education, and the University System of Maryland as the beneficiaries. As the grantee, the county is responsible to draft and enter into a subrecipient agreement with the beneficiaries. Upon execution of this subrecipient agreements, the county and beneficiaries will then must agree to and execute the capital projects grant agreement in order to receive the awarded funding. Commissioners, when at the time of the writing of this RF, we had not yet received responses back from our partners. Therefore, the next sentence there, that should approval be provided upon agreements presented herein, any substantive changes from the subrecipients for amendments will be brought before the board for approval. I can tell you today that we have heard from the Maryland Theater, and they suggested no changes to their agreement. And the Washington County Board of Education has submitted what you have before you that Ms. Buchanan passed out, which, while there are a few changes in it, they're not substantive, and mostly technical corrections to the document. Now, the subrecipient agreements primarily serves as a means to detail agreed upon financial considerations, as well as the obligations associated with the receipt of this funding. The entire agreement is contingent upon receipt of funding from the state. The document details specific reporting procedures and remedies available to the county for a default of this agreement. Most importantly, the document incorporates the capital project grant agreement into the subrecipient agreement and holds the beneficiaries responsible to the same conditions as the requirements of the county. The agreement also serves to limit the county's risk of fiscal recovery by the funder in the event of a default of the agreement. Now, per the February 2017 executed MOU with the UIP partners, the fiscal year 2018 award of $1.5 million will be dedicated to the Urban Educational Campus. The state's capital budget does include $6 million in additional funding for the project through fiscal year 2022. Also, per agreement and contingent upon continued funding, the Urban Educational Campus will receive an additional $500,000 of the grant in fiscal year 2019 and $500,000 of the grant in fiscal year 2020 for a total award of $2,500,000. In fiscal years 2021 and 2022, the Maryland Theater is scheduled to receive $2,500,000 of the grant each year respectively for a total award of $5 million. Now, the USM project, University System of Maryland project at Hagerstown, will not receive any of this funding, even though they're listed as a beneficiary. Okay? And because they're listed as a beneficiary, we are required to enter into an agreement with them where they acknowledge that they will not be receiving any of the funding. The Office of Community Grant Management has reviewed the subrecipient agreements as well as the county attorney. The office has also reviewed the capital projects bond bill grant agreement. And there are no unusual or unattainable conditions included in either of those documents. This approval will be an annual request based on the governor's commitment to fund the project through fiscal year 22. So each year we'll be back before you asking for acceptance of these same agreements as the governor's funding continues each year. If you look at the actual sub-recipient agreements, we can start off with the one that was amended by the board that you have before you today for the Board of Education in Washington County. That document indicates that the Board of Education will receive $1.5 million in fiscal year 17. And again, as I said earlier, $500,000 in fiscal year 19 and $500,000 again in fiscal year 2020, contingent upon approved funding by the General Assembly. The only requested changes were technical. In the second paragraph under recitals, they wanted the inclusion of the word fiscal year 18. On page 3, item number 8, they asked for, and we agreed that we should strike the hold harmless language. On page 4, condition number 11, we designated Dr. Boyd J. Michael, Superintendent of Schools, as a contact person in lieu of the President of the Washington County Board of Education. And on page 7, section 19C, we struck an incorrect section of the agreement, which was inserted incorrectly. And then on the final page, we just changed the wording of the correct title for the Board of Education. So all those changes, Mr. County Attorney, were acceptable to your office?
Yes, they were. Yeah, Mr. Hovis and I sat down and reviewed these yesterday. I also talked to Tony Trott at the council for the Board of Education. And from the staff perspective, all these are acceptable to us.
Okay. And then if it's very quickly, we can go through the Maryland Theater Association's sub-recipient agreement. The only difference between the two is that the Maryland Theater agrees that in 2017 they will receive $0. And then they were in fiscal year 19, they will receive $0. In fiscal year 2020, they will receive $0. And then in fiscal years 2021 and 22, they could receive up to a total of $5 million contingent upon continued funding from the governor's office. Other than that, the documents are the same. Then that would take us to the third and final document, which is between the Board of County Commissioners and the University System of Maryland. That document simply indicates that they will be allocated $0 for all 5 years of the grant funding. Okay.
Did you say they could be, the theater could receive up to $5 million or would receive up to $5 million?
They could receive up to $5 million. It's contingent upon the annual approval by the General Assembly of this award. So they are slated to receive $5 million by the year 2022. But again, that is all contingent. And we understand the governor is committed to that funding. Senator Serafini has indicated the governor is committed to that funding. So we have every reason to believe that that funding will be available. But again, we still need to understand that it is contingent. Several other things.
Okay, any other questions, comments? I'm sorry, were you finished?
I'm finished unless Ms. Buchanan has anything.
I'm finished. Nothing more to add.
Okay, any questions, comments, commissioners? Rob?
Mr. President, I do have a comment and a clarification. These are sub-recipient agreements for the grant application for state funding. There are separate requests and discussions, and there was a letter provided by the Maryland Theater December 17 yesterday that was provided to the board members yesterday as well with a request. That is not, while it is related to the same project, it is not related to this necessarily this sub-recipient agreement. However,
Right.
the Maryland Theater is here. I do see Mr. Prolex with the the Board of Education as well.
That is correct. What we're speaking of today refers only to the governor's capital grant.
Okay, any other questions, comments?
I'm looking at their letter. Maybe, am I jumping the gun?
No.
That is subject to the board's approval if they wish to discuss that or not.
I'm trying to relate what you're saying to this sort of summation here of the governor's money. Is that referred to in funding committed by the state, 5.3 million of your grant money of 20 and 21, or?
The 5 million is in the 0.3 million. The 300,000 are other funding sources such as strategic demolition.
I mean, the 5 million they refer to, is that the 21, 22 money?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay, well, I got some other questions. I'll wait till the rental fee.
Yeah, because we're just voting on the agreement, the sub-recipient.
Right, the agreements that we have set in place.
Okay, no further questions, comments on that. We do need a motion to move forward with that as presented.
Do we want to move forward with that today without the other two commissioners here? Or something we should move
Well, I
Just
think,
a technical response to that question is these are sub-recipient agreements that will take considerable time to move forward. So the board can certainly wait if it wishes. However, there is through state processing, there is a queue involved.
No meeting till January 9th.
All right, well, let's go ahead then. I'll make a motion. We move forward.
Second.
okay, motion, a second to move forward with the recommended motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Mr. Trotter did mention to me yesterday, I believe the Board of Education will be looking at these first or second week of January. They've obviously have discussed it at a business meeting. I mean, the board's aware of it, the staff is aware of it, and everyone's in favor, but it'll be discussed and formally approved sometime in January.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. We have a public hearing at 10:30. Okay, next on the agenda is a public hearing concerning an application for map amendment RZ 17-006. The purpose of this hearing is to hear public testimony concerning the matter. The procedure is as follows. We will first have staff introduce the matter. The applicant will then have the opportunity to testify, after which the hearing will be open for public comment and testimony. Public comment and testimony is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. After everyone who wishes to speak has done so, the applicant will have the opportunity for a brief rebuttal because the applicant has the burden. The hearing and the record will then close and no other comments, correspondence, or emails will be considered. The commissioners may discuss the issue and take any action that they deem appropriate, including adoption or rejection of the proposal, or they may take the issue under advisement and deliberate at a later date. Would anyone, whoever's here that would like to testify, you will need to stand and take an oath provided by Clerk Lum today, so everyone that's going to comment on this needs to stand and take the oath.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the responses given and statements made will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth? I do.
Thank you. Okay, we'll have staff come up and introduce the matter.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Travis Allen. I'm Comprehensive Planner with the Department of Planning and Zoning. We're here this morning to hear a piecemeal rezoning request. This is RZ 17-006. The applicant in this case is Divalbis and Wilkinson. The owner is 17119 Virginia Avenue, LLC. The property is located southeast of the intersection of Virginia Avenue and Hickory School Road at 17109 Virginia Avenue, totaling 0.528 acres. The applicant is requesting to change the zoning from residential suburban, or RS, to business general, or BG. In piecemeal rezoning cases, the local legislative body is tasked with presenting findings of fact based upon criteria that are defined in Article 27.3 of the zoning ordinance. These criteria include the report and recommendations of the Planning Commission, population change in the district, the availability of public facilities, present and future transportation patterns, the compatibility with existing and proposed development, the relationship to the comprehensive plan, and evidence as to whether there's been a substantial change in the character of the neighborhood since the time of the last comprehensive zoning plan, or a mistake in the current zoning designation as it was designated at that same time. So looking individually in brief at each of these criteria, on September 18th, the Planning Commission did hold a public information meeting. In advance of that meeting, the Department of Planning and Zoning did send out 155 letters to notify adjacent property owners who might be affected by the proposed rezoning. At the meeting, information was presented by staff, the applicant, and public comment was taken, and one person did speak against the proposed rezoning, citing traffic impacts from existing commercial uses on adjacent residential areas. The matter was then later taken up at the regular meeting of the Planning Commission on October 2nd. Looking next at population change in the district, between the years 1980 to 2010, the U.S. Census indicates that the halfway election district, where this property is located, has grown more slowly than the county as a whole. During the 30-year period, the halfway election district has grown at about 0.5% per year during the 30-year period, whereas the county as a whole has grown at about 1% per year during the 30-year period. Water and sewer is available to this parcel. Water is designated as W1 existing service provided by the city of Hagerstown. Sewer is designated as S1 existing service provided by the county at the Conococheague wastewater treatment plant. The volunteer fire company of Halfway, located 1 mile from the site, would be the nearest fire and emergency services provider. There would be no additional APFO mitigation requirements for schools because the applicant is requesting a commercial zoning class. Looking next at present and future transportation patterns, the State Highway Administration does have a counter on Virginia Avenue, sort of midway between Halfway Boulevard and the I-70 overpass located just a little ways south of the site. Those counts taken between 1985 and 2015 indicate that the peak traffic count at this location was in 1990 when 14,575 vehicles traveled by the site in terms of average daily traffic. That count was nearly equaled in 2000 at 14,250 average daily traffic, and since that time, traffic has declined adjacent to this proposed rezoning site. In 2015, the count was 11,392. There are no new major roadway projects in the immediate vicinity according to long-range transportation planning documents from federal, state, and local entities. Public transportation is available to this site. It's served by Route 441 of the county commuter, which runs between Hagerstown and Williamsport Monday through Saturday. Looking next at access to this site, currently the access to this parcel is provided by a driveway spur off the access road, which serves the Valley Car Wash, which is located immediately adjacent to the proposed rezoning site. There is an existing right-hand turn lane out in front of the site at present. There isn't a middle left-hand turn lane, however, on Virginia Avenue in the vicinity of this site. There has been a couple of comments submitted by engineering plan review. They have stated that a traffic study may be required as a part of the site planning process, and that the State Highway Administration determines access and entrance requirements for this parcel because Virginia Avenue is also US 11. Looking next at compatibility with existing and proposed development, the conditions on this site as they are currently Within the vicinity, there are a mixture of commercial and residential uses. Within the vicinity, in terms of commercial uses, immediately across the street is Carmine's Italian Restaurant. Again, adjacent to the site is the Valley Car Wash. A little ways to the east is Dollar General. And of course, you have a variety of commercial uses at Halfway Boulevard. There is forest on the site in the western portion. There's a very large adjacent stormwater management facility in front of the car wash. And there is an existing residential structure on this site. It is a 2-story brick home built in 1932. To the best of my knowledge, it was recently vacated with the purchase of the property. There was a renter in the structure that I believe at this time is now vacated willingly. Looking at compatibility in terms of zoning, north of Virginia Avenue, within the immediate vicinity of this site, it is predominantly residential zoning classifications of various densities, while on the southern side of Virginia Avenue, again within the immediate vicinity of this proposed rezoning, it is predominantly commercial zoning of different types of classes, business general, business local, as well as some industrial zoning in the vicinity too. There is one existing historic site within a half-mile of this proposed rezoning. It's the Charlton Farm, which is a mid-19th century farm complex, which you can read about in greater detail in the staff report. The applicant in this case has requested the business general zoning district. A definition of that zoning district is provided in the staff report, as well as a selection of the principal permitted uses. Staff would just remind the commissioners that any other permitted uses within that district would be allowed were the site to be rezoned. Looking next at the relationship to the comprehensive plan, the 2002 comprehensive plan's land use plan did designate this parcel as being commercial. The only point that I wanted to make about that here is that within the definition of that type of designation in the 2002 plan, Virginia Avenue is targeted as one of the major policy areas for commercial development in the definition. Last criteria to be evaluated is whether there's been a substantial change in the character of the neighborhood since the time of the last comprehensive zoning plan, which in this case would be the 2012 urban growth area rezoning, or whether there was a mistake made in the current zoning designation at that same time. Those criteria are evaluated in the staff report. In piecemeal rezoning cases, there is a strong presumption that the current zoning is correct, that concerns of affected property owners were taken into account at the time, and that the local legislative body gave due care and concern to those things at the time that the zoning was applied. The applicant in this case has claimed that there's been a mistake in the current zoning classification. The applicant does bear the burden of proof, but proof, even if provided by the applicant, doesn't require the local legislative body to approve the rezoning. It just offers that opportunity. Staff's recommendation is included in the staff report. The Planning Commission did recommend for approval at their October 2nd regular meeting. At this point, we've received just one public comment in opposition to this proposed rezoning. As noted earlier, it cited traffic impacts from commercial uses on the adjacent residential areas. That concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now the applicant.
Good morning, Commissioners. Andrew Wilkinson, 13424 Suite 302, Hagerstown, Maryland, with Ibelvis and Wilkinson here today on behalf of the applicant. With me is Mr. Snook. Name and address.
Yes, good morning. Todd Snook, 131 East Potomac Street, Williamsport, Maryland.
Mr. Snook is the managing member and owner of the LLC. If I can approach, put together a packet for the commissioners. All of these would have been in the original application packet or were presented at the original Planning Commission hearing. That can be marked as exhibit 1. They're also in your agenda as well, probably to some degree that the agenda might be in black and white, so the color gives it a little bit more clarity. What we're here talking about today is what on the first page there is marked as 767 in my handwriting. You'll note just to the right of that on your diagram a large pink area that is business general zoning, predominantly the lot that is now Mr. Snook's Car Wash, Valley Car Wash there. Going to the left of the diagram, you'll notice orange area, which is business local, and then IR area in yellow as you go out to the 70 underpass. The standard to consider when deciding what to do with this piecemeal rezoning is whether there was a mistake in the zoning at the last rezoning in the county. The last rezoning was in 2012, and what we suggest to you is that the mistake that was made is that this was not rezoned to a business use, either BL or BG, in 2012 when the county did the comprehensive rezoning. Mistake is established when you find that there is evidence that the assumptions and premises that must have been relied upon at the time were actually not correct or were invalid. And what I suggest is that in deciding not to rezone parcel 7067, which was surrounded by commercial rezoning at the time, that the county made a mistake in the assumptions that it made. Because what was certainly correct in 2012 is that the property was part of the Virginia Avenue commercial use policy area that was called out in the comprehensive plan to become commercial. That comprehensive plan was dated a decade earlier in 2002. So we're not really just looking back to 2012, we're really looking back to 2002 when this parcel was identified as a parcel that ought to be commercial based on the Virginia Avenue commercial use policy area. At the time in 2012, the property was surrounded by business uses, BL to the west, BG to the east. And at the time, of course, this may sound silly, but at the time, of course, Virginia Avenue was there. There was access to a major artery in the county, and therefore, without taking those things into consideration, I think the county made a mistake by not rezoning in 2012 to meet the dictates of the comprehensive plan. I think the question becomes, well, why not? Why didn't the county rezone this in 2012? And that was a question that came up at the Planning Commission hearing and in my discussions with county staff. I think the staff fairly went back to figure out why not. And it's a really simple answer. The answer that I've gotten from staff is the best they can figure is that it wasn't rezoned in 2012 because they went and looked at it, there was a house on it, there was somebody living in it. And so they just decided not to rezone it. Well, that's not planning. That's not future planning. And that's not meeting the dictates of what the comprehensive plan laid out a decade earlier in 2002. What do we have today? What we have today out there is a vacant house. It is not being used residentially anymore. And what we have, as you look to page 2 and page 3, is you have commercial uses all around this property. Within the immediate vicinity, 2 auto body shops, a car wash, Dollar General, a plaza. What's not shown on here is that directly to the west of the property, and as you look at page 2, the property's highlighted in black right in the middle of the photo. Just to the west of that, right under the I-11, the Route 11 sign, there is a house that looks on the photo like it's surrounded by macadam, because it is. It's a parking lot. That's a commercial use. That's being used by a billboard company. Sometimes it's rented or owned by or sometimes it's used by a construction company. And directly across from the driveway of the car wash, there is a house that runs a pressure washing business with pressure washing trucks out front. Staff has gone out and confirmed that as well. So the actual uses immediately in this area are predominantly commercial. When you decide whether to rezone, you have to look at the factors of 27.3 in the zoning ordinance. That's what Travis ran you through. I'll run you through real quick. First, look at what the Planning Commission said. Planning Commission recommended approval. Second, look at the population change. It's actually slower here than elsewhere in the county. Over the past 13 years, this area, 13% population change, rest of the county, 30%. So this area is only growing half of what the county has in the past 30 years. Public water and sewer is available. There's nothing in the CIP that would negatively affect traffic patterns. We understand that traffic may be an issue in the future. That's what State Highway does when we submit a plan for development. You need to look at the compatibility with the existing development in the area and the relationship of changing this to a business use with respect to the comprehensive plan. It's exactly what the comprehensive plan calls for, and it's really, when you look at the photos, it's exactly what a lot of this land is being used for. Going back to the first one, the first page, this is just a little island of residential in a sea of business, and it ought to be changed. I'll ask you a hypothetical question, and then I'll end. I asked the same thing to the Planning Commission. Let's assume for the moment that on that first page there that I provided you, parcel 76 was actually the pink color. It was business general. And I wanted to come in here and change it to residential. And I said, nope, let's change it to blue. Would you ever do that? And the answer is no. You would never put a little island of blue in that sea of green, pink and orange. Never. And that's how you know it's a mistake to have it there. Unless the commissioners have any questions of Mr. Snook or of me, we can stand back.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Okay, now we'll open the hearing, public hearing up for public comment. And we have any citizens here today would care to come and comment on what was just presented? Okay, we have no one that would care to comment? Okay. Would the, of course, you don't have any rebuttals to make, so we can move forward. Okay, so we have no one testifying. Okay, now we'll go to the commissioners. Any questions, comments on the commissioners?
I only want to make one comment, which obviously, and I don't want to ever, you know, I know that redoing a comp plan takes a lot of work. I commend our department, but you know, exactly what Mr. Wilkinson said about 767 makes total sense. Why would you even let that be that way? I mean, it's almost like you would want someone to come back, as we've heard similar, reversing the other way, but also on that east side of Route 11, it would have made some common sense to have that other little piece of blue into the BG zone. So,
Yeah, and unless the property owner at that time came in and discussed or met with staff and said they didn't want to change. I know there were instances where we didn't change. Uses
mean one of the property owners actually paid attention. Possibly.
Possibly. Okay, any other comments, commissioners? Okay, I guess we have the right to do what today? The public hearing is now concluded and the record is closed. That's why he sits beside me. Thank you. Okay, we can move.
I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and move forward on this and approve it.
Well, he'll
Can we do that
bring
or
it
not?
back. He'll
Consensus? Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Moved it. Yep.
So we have consensus. Thanks to everyone that participated, and good day. Okay, do I? Okay, yeah, let's, we have Youth Meritorious Awards on right now. Can you all? Well, we were supposed to go back to the theater, but we'll do the Youth Meritorious and then come back to the theater. We'll do the theater can come forward after we do the Youth Meritorious Awards. Okay, this is the commissioner's, one of the commissioner's favored moments as an elected official, presenting Youth Meritorious Awards to outstanding individuals within our school system, public school system. So we would like to ask Ms. Miller to give us a little update and a few things before we present the awards.
Good morning, Commissioners and Administration. Tiffany Miller with the Office of Community Grant Management. The following individuals have been selected for the Youth Meritorious Award for the month of December. These students were nominated to receive this award by their teachers, school administrators, or parents. They were selected based on their scholastic achievements, leadership qualities, community service performed, or other positive contributions to their school and community. These exceptional youths have consistently worked and distinguished themselves as model students and members of our county. It is my pleasure to present the following youths for recognition today. Cassie Bernard, 12th grade, South Hagerstown High School. Purity Canario, 11th grade, North Hagerstown High School. Megan Ashire, 11th grade, North Hagerstown High School. And Erica Carlin, 12th grade, North Hagerstown High School. Unfortunately, Erica could not be here for the presentation this morning.
Okay, thank you very much. And this time we'll ask, who did you have?
Cassie.
You had Eric.
Erica Carlin.
Okay, you can present that one first.
Is this the one that's
Cassie also works tirelessly as a drum major for the South High Marching Band, where she uses her leadership skills to manage one of the biggest bands in school history. Cassie is a joy to have around, as she always has a smile on her face and a positive attitude. You see that too. So on behalf of the county commissioners, in recognition of your outstanding achievement in being selected as a recipient of the December 2017 Youth Meritorious Award, your academic accomplishments, leadership, and extracurricular activities are to be commended by both adults and peers in Washington County. In all aspects, you have shown yourself to be a superior role model for all youth. We, the Board of County Commissioners of Washington County, hereby congratulate you on your achievements. So congratulations.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, next I'd like to ask Commissioner Barr to present Ms. Elshire with her award recognition.
Megan, come on up. It's my honor to present the Youth Meritorious Award to Megan Elshire, who is an 11th grade student at North Hagerstown High School. She's been nominated by Carol Krakenbaum Barnhart, and her parents are James and Carol Elshire. Ms. Barnhart endorsed the following. Megan has one of the strongest work ethics I have observed in a student. She is diligent and focused on a certified tennis teams. She is positive and supportive to all. She also represents North Hagerstown High School as a member of the indoor and outdoor track teams. As Vice President of the Student Government Association, Megan is the point person of North Hagerstown High School's food bank. She gives countless hours collecting food, checking expiration dates, sorting, and stocking shelves. Here at North Hagerstown High School, we are proud to describe Megan as a role model for all other students. She is awesome. Congratulations. Gift certificate to Office Max, which you can use for your studies. And I'd like to present a certificate on behalf of the commissioners, certificate of recognition to Megan Elshire in recognition of your outstanding achievement in being selected as the recipient of the December 2017 Youth Meritorious Award. Your academic accomplishments, leadership, and extracurricular activities are to be commended by both adults and peers in Washington County. In all aspects, you have shown yourself to be a superior role model for all youth. We, the Board of County Commissioners, Washington County, Maryland, congratulate you on this major achievement. Congratulations. Is your parents here? You want to introduce?
You must take after your mother.
Looks like her daddy. She looks like her daddy.
Okay, next is Purity Neonero, is that correct? Nenaro, okay. Welcome. How are you today? We're honored to be presenting you with this Youth Meritorious Award, and you are an 11th grade student at North Hagerstown High School. You were also nominated by Carol Craig and Mom Barnhart. Is Miss Barnhart here? She's here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go back to the sub-recipient agenda item, and now we'd like to ask the theater board to come up and provide us with some information. How are you two today?
Great, thank you.
Thank you for allowing us to speak with you.
You're welcome.
I hope that our letter and 3 requests within the letter didn't come across as abrasive or forward. They are items that have been discussed at length with county staff members and in bits and pieces over the last several months with various commissioners. The letter was simply meant to be a public document and a hope of making progress on this very important UIP. We are simply asking the county to take the lead, something that was communicated to us by staff members on the overall UIP, and we're very excited to be considered a part of the project. Without your very critical lead in this project, the theater expansion will not be dead, but it will be very much delayed up to approximately 5 years, simply because the Maryland Theater as a standalone nonprofit cannot in any way, shape, or form forward fund this project on our own. Delaying our project will also have a negative effect on the Board of Ed project due to space restrictions in the downtown area with their building being directly next door to us. And we also want to point out that the theater expansion project is much more than an expansion for a historic landmark. It really is a mission to make the downtown and the Maryland Theater Performing Arts Complex for all things arts, education, and business related for Washington County. So we appreciate your thoughtful consideration of our 3 individual requests, and we're really asking for that February 1st, 2018 deadline as a drop dead date due to the fact that that is the very last date that we can go out to bid with a hope of starting construction July 2018.
Okay, any questions, comments? I'm sorry, are you finished?
Nope, that's fine.
I've done that twice today. Commissioner comments, questions?
I just want, you know, I want to say that I am a big fan, if it's proper, I'm very supportive of everything and what you all do at the Maryland Theater. I think obviously, you don't have to convince me. I think, you know, Benito, you all know that that's where my heart's at. However, I just think that we need to have a little bit of time here, maybe the next couple weeks. As you see, we're missing 2 commissioners today, and I believe that for us to do anything at this point in time would be wrong. I'd like to hear their comments as well. That's why we have 5 commissioners. But we got to keep this project moving. There's no doubt about it. I think we've got to get creative in our ways and our efforts. My only question would be is to, you know, how I saw here where it says your fundraising commitments. And I've always get concerned when it says documented pledges to date, which does not mean money in the bank.
Right.
Correct.
You know, I mean, how real are those commitments? You know, are they?
They are documented, signed contracts by the individual that detail the payments that they will make on an annual basis.
And how long was it? 10-year?
5 years.
5 years. Okay. And how, you know, and you know this if you're involved with your fundraisers, where is the remaining $7 million, or I should say, I guess, the remaining $4.5 million?
We have additional asks out to local foundations and individuals for over $4 million. So this capital campaign is our #1 priority.
Gut feeling on those $4 million of asks to individuals you know that maybe
I have no doubt that we will achieve the capital campaign. It's just a matter of when.
Some of the, I guess I'm trying to get a little more zeroed in. The ones that you would expect to have given, have they given or?
Yes, and most of them have given more than they initially committed to.
So that's not part of that $4.5 million.
Sure, and some of it is also part of individuals have given to other parts of sponsoring the theater and giving through previous pledges. So this is in addition to what they've been pledging over the last couple of years.
So I guess I'd look to Rob, when we're asking for the $5 million, is that part of our line of credit?
That's the governor's
Can
money.
can that be part of the line of credit with what we have available?
It can be if the board so chooses, yes.
You follow me?
I did have another question, when it's appropriate, is just a clarification on point 3, the request for 50%, and then it states 2 million. Is it 50% of 2 million, or 2 million is 50% of?
Currently, the local banks that we're in discussions with, and this is not a final decision on their part, but what they think they are able to contribute is to offer a line of credit at a very low interest rate that would forward fund the private pledges. At this time, they are only able to commit to forward funding 50% of what we have in pledges. So if we have 2.3 million in pledges, half of that, 50%.
Of
Yes.
what? Okay, I understand.
And as those pledges continue to grow, the line of credit would increase.
I see.
For the pledges.
I should point out that our request for $3 million in grant funding from city and county would decrease the need to forward fund the pledges, if that makes sense.
Would the banks be willing to forward fund 50% of the total amount if the commissioners agreed to the $5 million?
We haven't reached, we haven't heard a final decision from them
That would
yet.
throw a little different twist to it, but I think that's something I would like, I would be more agreeable to.
Can you
Whereas-
clarify exactly what you're looking for?
Well, I'm saying instead of us coming up with us totally bearing the burden of the $5 million, is the county commissioners, I'm asking the banks to bear 50% of our burden as far as forward funding.
In addition to 50% of the
That's correct,
pledges? Okay. We can certainly discuss that with them.
That would take a little less.
So all of the money that we would forward fund,
Instead of us
we
pulling.
would receive back.
Instead of us, yes, that's correct, yeah. Instead of us pulling our line of credit, so to speak, of the total forward fund, we'd split that 50-50 with the banks. If they're there to commit.
The only downside to that would be that there would be interest.
Cost on that.
I understand.
So,
And that's, I guess that's.
downside to the theater, yeah.
But you said
I
low
realize
interest,
that, but
so 1%, you said low interest.
Low,
1%.
yes, they have not committed to a figure, but yes, they did say low interest.
It just might be something that's a little more palatable to a couple of the commissioners more so than the other. That's, I just wanted to throw it out there.
Okay, any other questions, comments?
No, obviously, I think the theater board knows my commitment. They are the linchpin of this community. And I've said over and over, particularly from this seat, that without the theater, you wouldn't have the symphony orchestra and a lot of other events in this community. And it's critical to not only the physical health, but just the betterment of our community as a whole. So obviously I agree with Commissioner Myers. We are a little short here today, and between now and the end of January, I think we can bring this back before us and have a good conversation and a good outcome.
Sure.
Thank you.
Has the city indicated any amount of money that they're considering towards the grant request?
They have,
Nothing official.
they have not, and we intend to follow up with a very similar letter.
Okay, any other comments, thoughts?
Well, I just want to say thank you. You know, this is, even though we're talking about a UIP that the last year or two, the Maryland Theater, this has been a project that our community's worked on aggressively the last 8 years. This is the second part of a 10-year plan to restore and actually now move forward and actually put the theater into place to be there far past our lifetimes. We've been good stewards. We appreciate the openness that we've been able to sit in front of the county commissioners for the last so many years. We wouldn't be here without the decisions made here in the past and the generosity of our community as well and participants in the theater. So we look forward to, unfortunately, it's a very small timeline in front of us, so we could fit with the timeline of others. So we appreciate the chance to speak before you today in your favorable consideration of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Jurisdictions with local preference, and this is informational purposes only. Mr. Curry.
Good morning. Rick Curry, Director of Purchasing. As Commissioner Baker said, the information in front of you is for informational purposes only. There's a list of the jurisdictions that have local preference. As far as like Allegheny shows within the 5%. And there's also information of those jurisdictions that do not have local preference. Of those who do have local preference, it took legislation or some type of act to get that passed to approve. Also like to inform the board that the Maryland Public Purchasing Association had a luncheon last month, and the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Maryland spoke at that luncheon. The state of Maryland is rewriting the entire procurement policy. I would like to suggest that the board maybe take a while to think about that and see what comes out of that rewrite of that policy. And also, Susan Buchanan has some information, and also to share on some local preference.
Yes, Susan Buchanan, Senior Grant Manager, Office of Community Grant Management. We thought it would be appropriate to share information related to grant funding as it speaks to local preference, so you have that information available to you. The two major sources of grant funding are federal and state grants. For federal grants, the source document is the Uniform Guidance for Federal Awards, and that document states that a non-federal entity must conduct procurements in a manner that prohibits the use of statutory or administratively imposed state, local, or tribal geographical preferences in the evaluation of bids or proposals, except in those cases where applicable federal statutes expressly mandate or encourage geographic preference. In addition, it states that when contracting for architectural or engineering services, geographic location may be a selection criterion provided its application leaves an appropriate number of qualified firms given the nature and size of the project. As far as state grants, there is not a document that outlines everything there. So what our office has done is we've consulted with the Governor's Grant Office, who then consulted with the Department of Budget and Management, specifically the Division of Procurement Policy and Administration. And their statement is, unless specific state grant language or guidance prohibits it, there is no specific statute, regulation, or policy that would prohibit county or local jurisdiction from the use of local preference procurement when receiving state grant funds.
Anything to add, Commissioners? Okay, thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Intergovernmental cooperative purchase, regular cab dump truck for parks and facilities, Mr. Curry. And
Thank you.
Mr. Panisi.
This intergovernmental purchase for one regular cab dump truck for parks and facility. Move to authorize by resolution parks and facility to purchase one regular dump truck from Johnson Truck Centers LLC of Landover, Maryland, and a cost of $116,677, which includes a 5-year, 100,000 mile warranty, and to utilize another jurisdiction's contract awarded by the Department of General Services. The park is requesting to purchase one truck to replace a truck that's 18 years old. The truck exceeds the county's guidelines, which is recommended on a 10-year life cycle. And the Code of Public Laws allows for the county to enter into a contract that another jurisdiction has awarded, as you can see in the ARF. We feel that if we were to bid a dump truck with the going through the procurement process of the bidding, we would exceed this savings we would have here in this savings through Johnson's Trucks, or we could not even make the formal proposal to award this dump truck. You also have the quote from Johnson Towers that shows what the price of that truck would be to Parks and Facility.
Okay, any questions, comments? Okay, we have
Second.
a motion and a second for the recommended motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bid award purchase or lease and supplying of golf carts for Washington County Black Rock Golf Course. Mr. Curry and Mr. Winnington.
The recommended motion is to award to the lowest responsible bidder, Golf Cart Specialties LLC of Pottstown, Pennsylvania, based on option 1, which is 6-year lease in amount of $57,977.84 per year for a 6-year cost of $347,867.04, and also an alternate 1 and a cost of $1,793.20 for a total cost of $10,759.20 for the grand total of $358,627.24. The lease will be contingent upon the county attorney's office of approval. This is a 6-year lease for 72 golf carts. Within 3 years of getting the golf carts, they will be recycled out for new carts. It has a maintenance program, and also the bid was advertised in the newspaper and local jurisdictions as far as the websites. And the lease presently expires, is a typo here, I have it on January 19th, 2018. It's actually February 28th, 2018. And the funds are budgeted in the golf carts line item account number is listed in the ARF. We have concurrence from the Director of Public Works. And you also have the bid matrix of the bidders who submitted bids for the golf carts showing their pricing.
So we will spend $358,627.24 for 72 carts over 5 years.
6 years.
6 years.
They would trade them in?
We're leasing them. We lease them, right?
In 3 years, we can recycle these carts out for new carts if need be. But supposedly these are real good heavy carts that we determine when we get down. If we do not cycle these carts out in that 3-year cycle, that payment could be reduced somewhat. So that's what we look at when we
recycle them out, the payment doesn't change.
Yes, if we do cycle them out, the payment won't change. That is correct.
Because I just comes out to less than $5,000 a cart. I don't know what the cost of them, but that doesn't sound, based on the cost of 4-wheelers, that doesn't sound too bad.
No. Well, like anything else, it's a wear and tear item. You don't know what you're getting. End of the day, you got your exact cost into that you can calculate instead of having repairs and stuff. Because they take care of that, right?
That is correct. This maintenance is built in with the cost.
So I'll get a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second for the recommended motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bid award, snow removal equipment. One new aircraft truck with rapid heat and forced air system. Ms. Noggle?
Good morning.
And Mr. Rodner, how are you two today? Thank you for the Christmas card.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
My first recommendation for award today is for PUR 1370 for the snow removal equipment, one new aircraft de-icing truck for the Hagerstown Regional Airport. I move to award the bid for one de-icing truck to Ground Support Specialist out of Horn Lake, Mississippi in the amount the low bid, $289,690. 8 companies downloaded and registered the document from the county website. We had 2 bids come in on December 4th. We advertised on the e-Maryland Marketplace, Maryland's website, the county website, and a local newspaper. We did receive a letter with FAA approval on December 12th. The equipment is budgeted in the airport's capital improvement budget with funding of 90% from FAA, 5% from the state, and 5% from the county. As of December 7th, they had $663,065.15 in that budget.
Okay, any questions, comments?
It's a no-brainer when the federal government's paying 90% of the cost.
That's the way we see it.
I'll give you, if
Easy,
you give me a
easy.
nickel, I'll give you $1.
Easy.
Sort of like the runway years ago, huh?
What's that?
Sort of like the runway years ago.
Exactly. Exactly.
A motion to move forward.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 3-0.
Thank you. Merry
Thank
Christmas
you.
to you all.
Yeah. Thank you, Phil. Contract award PUR 1360, City County Landfill Gas Mitigation. Ms. Noggle, Mr. Mason, how are you two today?
Wonderful.
Again?
My second recommendation today is for PUR, the award of PUR 1360 for the City County Landfill Gas Mitigation. I move to award this contract to Stearns Conrad and Smith Consultant Engineering out of Reston, Virginia, for the lowest bid amount of $1,287,641. The bid was advertised on the State of Maryland's e-Maryland Marketplace website, the county's website, and a local newspaper. 23 vendors did access the site and download the document, and on December 4th, we received 3 bids for this bid. Funding in the amount of $1,593,424.99 is available in this department's capital improvement budget.
Okay, any questions, comments? None. Motion to move forward.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think I've covered everything. Need a motion to go into closed session for reasons stated.
Motion to go in closed session.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
I would like to recommend that we hire the position of Director of Public Relations and Marketing to bring Danielle Crabb in at grade 18, step 2. So her starting salary would be $73,980. We interviewed 5 candidates for the Public Relations and Marketing position. It's now a director position. Following all the interviews, which Rob Slocum and I were involved with, it was unanimous that we wanted to offer the position to Danielle Crabb. She's a Clear Spring resident and currently is the Director of Marketing for the Centers for Advanced Orthopedics MMI division. In Frederick. In addition, she holds a bachelor's degree from Hood College in psychology and additional training and certifications related to the field of PR and marketing.
Make a motion to hire Daniel Crabb. Salary and so forth is described.
Second.
Motion is second for that approval. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will be in touch with her.
Okay, anything else to add? Okay, a motion to adjourn?
Where's that at?
Second floor.
Oh, the man in the red.
All in favor?
Almost out the door.